Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Indie Showcase, your go-to podcast for underrated, unseen indie video game content. So, with all the hype and interest in virtual reality headsets like the Vive and Oculus, I thought I'd try my hand at reviewing a game that features a headset in the game. Small radios, big televisions. Wait, you thought I was going to review a VR game? As if I could afford a headset right now. When the game starts, you're presented with a main menu that gives off a nostalgic feel of an old VHS recording. The colors somewhat bleed, and there's enough of a tracking issue for you to notice that it's not perfectly aligned all the time. This surprisingly lends itself well to the game, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Once you begin to play, you're immediately outside this large building, staring at it from eye level, unable to see the ground below. There are no instructions anywhere on the screen. So you try a few keys on the keyboard. Nothing. You try moving your mouse around. Nothing. Eventually you find that you're able to bring your mouse to a small door on the building. It highlights, and when you click on it, you go into the building through the door. The main gameplay mechanic of this game is, simply put, trial and error. I've played through the game to completion at least one time before, and I played about midway through before writing this script. So I can say that luckily, unlike several flawed trial and error games of the past, Panic and Dragon's Lair just to name a few, there's no penalty for doing anything wrong. Well, besides being frustrated while you're constantly trying to figure out the right answer. Entering the building, you notice that it looks abandoned and that there's no one around, though some of the equipment and lights appear to still work. After walking around some more, you come across a door with what appears to be a high-tech lock on it. But instead of a keypad or a traditional keyhole, its keyhole is in the shape of a hexagon. Traveling back and exploring some more, you find a cassette tape. Clicking on it, it comes towards you, towards the screen in particular, as a strange cassette player comes in from off-screen. The tape goes into the player and you hear the player whir to life. But instead of hearing a recording, the screen goes white as you're suddenly in a new world filled with polygonal shapes staring at a clearing in the forest. Eventually you notice a rotating green spherical object, which we'll just call Diamond for now, made up of squares and hexagons, floating just behind one of the trees. Clicking on it summons it towards you as color slowly drains from the world and you enter back into reality inside the building. The diamond from the tape is now in your inventory, and then you're slowly fed instructions on the screen for information you'll need to know later. For example, spacebar is for looking at old tapes. Drag in stuff from the inventory to use it. Press M to access the map. Yes, there's a map. To be honest, I forgot about it until my second playthrough. There's a reason I forgot about it. It's not very useful. The map will only give you a 2D image of the building you're currently in, and will correspond to whatever floor you're on, without being able to readjust the floor you're looking at. Speaking from experience, trust your memory more than the map. It's far less confusing in my opinion. One thing that helps is that each and every room is structured a different way, and quite a few of them have graffiti on the walls, typically giving subtle hints to the player on how to solve puzzles in the rooms. One of them, for example, straight up says, "This puzzle is impossible." But what the player is supposed to interpret from that is that they need to grab an item from another room in order to solve it. Anyway, back to the emerald green diamond in your inventory. You go back to the locked door from earlier. Try the diamond in the hexagon-shaped lock, and the door unlocks, allowing you to go back outside through a back entrance of the building, and come in through another door you weren't able to access earlier. There's another combination just like this. Grab tape, enter virtual reality, get diamond, use diamond unlock. Simple. After that, you feel like you're near the end of the building. You pick up the third and, you assume, final tape. You put it in the weird tape player and you enter the virtual reality of the beach this time. But something's wrong. You can't find the diamond no matter how hard you try. Eventually, you're given the prompt to exit the tape by pressing the spacebar. So you assume that it's just not in the tape for some reason. Looking around some more for another tape, you come across a poorly lit room which has this weird section of the wall that looks like some sort of high-tech security scanner from airports. Having no idea what it does, you click on it, as suddenly the tapes are ripped out of your hands, rushed over the device, and the device makes this weird electrical hum with a small amount of static, as what you can only assume to be electromagnetic motors spinning furiously. The tapes then return to you as the lights flicker back on, with a small sign on the wall now visible, warning against exposing tapes to magnets. Curious as to what the magnets did to the tapes, you start to play a few of them, only to find out that they've changed. The worlds are more or less the same, but now the colors have shifted, there's a mutation in the geometry, it's black and white sometimes, there's far more static and tracking issues than there were before, a variety of issues. Playing the same beach tape again while they're in this state, however, will reveal the hidden diamond that will allow you to finally leave the building. As you leave the building appears to be connecting up to some kind of power line mainframe as towers start spawning in from the bottom of the screen. And we fade to black. When the room lights back up, we're kind of given a very dark room that's barely visible. You can see a red light on what appears to be a speaker. Pressing the switch activates the lights and what is revealed to be a radio, as a conversation between two people starts coming in through the radio. But they're so muffled and staticky that you can't understand a word they're saying. However, there's closed captions on the screen so you can follow along, except for certain parts that are censored for whatever reason or were damaged while the words were being transmitted. Through these cutscenes between the levels with the radio and the two guys, two gals, you honestly can't tell the gender of either people. I personally hear a guy and a gal, but it's hard to tell. It's extremely muffled. Anyway, these cutscenes are basically how you figure out the lore of this world, if you didn't figure that out from the world around you previously. Long story short, some organization created this VR headset device that allowed people to enter worlds that were much more organic and cleaner than the conditions they were currently living in. But the general mass got obsessed with spending time within these worlds, which ended up that they weren't able to get much done in reality to fix said living conditions. That's a generalization of what they talk about, though I believe the conversations go deeper as we go further throughout the game. I won't spoil much else past that, except you will come across more magnetic panels that will affect your tapes in different ways than earlier, and gear placement manipulation, just to name a couple. No bonus points for the game this week, I'm afraid. What you buy is what you get. However, they do offer the soundtrack as DLC content, and while I'll likely not be humming these tunes in the shower, they make for some very interesting background music and ambience. Knowing me, I probably edited a few of the tracks near the beginning, possibly throughout the whole thing. Anyway, that's all for this week. Join us again next week where we'll be covering another underappreciated indie game of the past or present. See ya!